Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm starting a little early just so I can get the intro in so we can just start chatting about whatever we want to chat about. But here we go.
This is DWTT coming to you from the Emirates.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the show. Yes, I am. We are here. Let me get the volume up a little bit in my ear and turn it down. Welcome to the show. This is the road trip. It is me for now. I'm not sure. I think Miss Sam's had some family stuff he needed to take care of, so he's doing that. Mr. Tom, I'm not sure. We'll see if he comes on, but for now it's just me. Lonzo, welcome to the show. You've got Emirates. We'll get into that. We'll get into that plus everything else that's going on. Riddy, welcome to the show. You're not late. You're not late. I started a little early just to get my long intro in. I realized I don't have the right intro based on this year for this show. I don't know. I created one, I think, when Rice and Timber joined, and I didn't create just my a regular generic one. So I need to go back and do that. So my fault there. Sorry about that. You wouldn't know it unless I told you, but that's what happened there. So yeah, I just played the long. I have a long intro. I guess just to piss off Mr. Tom a little bit, but yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So welcome to the road trip. If you haven't already, please hit the like, subscribe, and we'll get into that. But first, let me just put up the score here, and then we'll talk about it. We will talk about it. So, you guys are gonna hate me too. I do a little pick'em competition with some YouTube friends, and guess what score I had? Guess what score I had? Yeah, I had 2-1, and I was listening to some stuff, and I kind of got talked out of it, and I went with a 3-0 score, and we were pretty much on our way to doing that, but no, that didn't happen. So Arsenal at home. For me, kind of started out a little slow. Kind of would have liked us to could have scored probably a little bit earlier. I think Nketiah starting. I guess we'll go through the lineup. Let's start from there. Let's start with that. So Nketiah up top. I guess Arteta is he's showing us where he wants to go, and I kind of feel like yes, it's the first game of the season, but I think also there's no reason to rush it. But he's got Nketiah up top with Martinelli and Saka surrounding him, and in that midfield is Erdegaard, uh, Rice, and Havertz. Yeah, and then in that back line, or necessarily, well, I guess to start the back line, maybe you've got Partey, White, Saliba, and Timber. Yeah, so I guess we knew White can't play center back, and yeah, so that's where we went there. I don't like having, I guess, Rice and Partey and Havertz playing because that means somebody's got to play on that back line or place come out of that back line. But I think it worked out. I think we're more in a three back line anyway. So I think we did okay there. Um, but yeah, I would have liked us to be able to play in our standard four back line with a Rice and Partey, but with the injuries and whatnot, with Gabriel Margalles. Actually, what I thought was weird is he's going to start. Of course, he had Ramsdale in goal, so that was kind of a little warning, that we saw. I mean, the first thing I saw was he did make the trip, which I thought was kind of weird because I was like, yeah, he's making the trip. He just played. But I guess he made the trip because he wasn't going to start. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't ready to start, and he didn't start. And they went. I think we still went with a strong line. I would have liked to see Trossard start. If we're going to be down players, I like to see us maybe put Trossard in. Get those are the starts that I think he should come in and get. But yeah, he went with Nketiah as man. I guess I'm a Eddie Nketiah hater. I mean, he did score a goal for us to start it off the season, so I can't take that away from him. He looked really good doing that. He had a couple opportunities early where I thought he should have, he could have scored, so we could have been up maybe even more. So yeah, yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I do hope Timber is all right. He went down the first time, and for me, that is a sign. I guess we'll kind of go off a little bit from the game as I kind of ramble on about my love or hate for Nketiah. But Timber going down early should have, for me, would have been a sign that we don't need to press and push him in there. We do have answers. And coming out in the second half and then going straight down, I don't know what they saw from him that he would come down and just making a play on a ball and just goes down. I think they missed, could have injured himself more. Hopefully that's not the case. But they got him out there, and I think they might have pushed it. And the fact that he actually started is a big thing. And now to see that he went down injured, I think that was poor. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so hopefully he's all right. And Mr. Tom said I didn't update the score. I was a little distraught by them scoring so late. It was in the 82nd minute. There were still another like 17 minutes of football left after that because of the extra time. But yeah, I was just I kind of lost my way there, and I always do. But yeah, welcome to the show, Mr. Tom. You had 4-1. Yeah, I think we could have definitely scored 4 goals. I think 3 goals is our marker. We should be able to score 3 goals on pretty much every team we play. We didn't do that today, and I think that's why we kept them in the game. I don't like Partey back there having to play in that, when we've got that particular lineup. Really, a win is a win is a win. I know, but for me, I also like to, if we're going to talk about it, then we need to talk about why it is that I'll take the 3 points, but there are some room for improvement, and so that we don't see it again. So yeah, I'm taking the win. I enjoyed the win. I didn't like the way the game ended, and that's what we're going to be talking about a lot more than a lot of the other things that were going on. So for me, I would say that's what we talk about. If we just talk about we got the win and that's it, there's nothing to talk about, then I don't like that discussion because I think there's more to it than that. If we had won 3-1 and we gave up that goal, I would be disappointed in it, but it wouldn't have put a sour feeling in me. But the way that we kind of lost control in the second half, they seemed to then pick up steam, and then when they started to go, they started to put a lot of pressure on us, and we didn't do that. Yeah, Tierney wasn't even on the bench because I went through the lineups, and I didn't even neglected to mention that he was not available, at least for the squad. So yeah, Tierney was not. I don't. Yeah, he was not part of the bench for us. So I think that's telling as well, right? Very telling. So either he was injured or he was just out for a bit. So Tierney, yeah, he didn't make the bench. I'm just rechecking that. Didn't make the bench. So It would have been nice to see him. I think in that situation on a corner, Tierney would be the one back, right, for that ball, and maybe put in a challenge or get to the ball or whatnot, and they don't get that attack, that counter attack on a. And all right, it looks like we might have Spencer come join me. We'll chat about things. So very cool. All right, so let me just send him the link here. So there you go. What else we got going on here? Yeah, gutted not to have the clean sheet though. We need to stop conceding cheap goals. See, this is so. 1 minute you're saying a win is a win is a win, but then you have things that you want to talk about. See, so my family would be the same way. My team would win, like, you know, in football, say 38-24, and I'll be upset because I'm like, well, that team's not that good. We gave up 24 points and we only scored 38. Either one of them has got to change. We got to beat them by more. And I think today was one of those things. I don't believe Nottingham Forest, if Nottingham Forest played the last 30 minutes the way they started out that way, you know, we could have been in trouble. But they were allowing us to, I believe they were allowing us to some degree to have that control of the game. We did not punish them for it, and we should have, right? We should have. So Partey will not play right back against. Yeah, I think I get why he played today. I don't think we needed to play him in that situation. I think we should play him in that situation when it's required. Today it was not required that he had to play there. You had Tomiyasu. You could have played Tomiyasu there. You had Kirior. We have answers. You had Gabriel that could have come in later, but you had Tomiyasu and Kirior. You could have some degree kind of worked it out having the four, the back four, I believe. And then let Rice play in his preferred position. And then if that means Havertz doesn't play, then so be it. That's what you've done. You have Partey and Rice that I think need to play for when we need a win, and we needed a win to get things started. That's why they played. Uh, when we are in form, I think we should be able to rotate. I'm not talking about the Cowboys with that scoreline. I'm talking about a 14-point lead in an NFL game is really good. In college, not so much. Not when you're playing an unranked team. Welcome to the show, Russ. Welcome to the show. Yeah, everybody saying hi. Be right back. We have he's going to sell some comics. The man's businessman, right? Leeds named 2 goalkeepers on the bench to fill the quota. Wow, that's not good when you have to go to. I think I've seen Arsenal do that as well. Sometimes they put an extra goalkeeper in there, and you're like, what? But if you think about it, sometimes you're not playing all of the. You're going to keep a spot available for that goalkeeper just in case. But so you really only have the 4 subs really that they're going to come in. You want to say one just in an emergency case, right? So yeah, I get that, but you should have more than enough outfielders there to get in. So I have the Everton Fulham match on my because that's the only thing that I'm allowed to watch right now on this stupid thing here. So that's what I'm looking at here. Let's see. Tom Brady is at the Birmingham Leeds match. Oh, that's right. He's retired, so he's got time to do all that kind of stuff. Interesting. So let's go. Let's do it because this is the road trip. This is the road trip, people. And oh, here we go. I had a screen for this. Let's go through it. So the scores, as I said, Arsenal 2, Forest 1. Bournemouth is losing to West Ham at home, 0-1. Brighton is up 1-0 on Luton at home. Everton and Fulham is still 0-0. And Crystal Palace on the road at Sheffield United is up 1-0 or 0-1. And later on today, you've got Newcastle and Villa. Oh, he owns part. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know he owns part of Birmingham. All right, cool. In in La Liga, you've got Real Sociedad is up 1-0 on Girona. Any other actives? You got Marseille is down at home to Reims 0-1. In the Eredivisie, you've got PSV and Utrecht. They're tied 0-0. And earlier today, you had in the championship, Coventry up 3-0 0 to Middlesbrough at home. Birmingham leads 0-0 in the 52nd minute. Cardiff is losing to QPR at home. They're losing 0-1. Huddersfield Leicester 0-0. Hull and Sheffield Wednesday at Hull is 1-1 at this point. Ipswich is up 1-0 on Stoke at home. Millwall home to Bristol City 0-0. Preston is home to Sunderland 1-1. Rotherham is up 2-0 on Blackburn right now. They've got a red card, Rotherham, so they're going to try to hold on to that. Southampton is down 2-3 to Norwich. Got Watford and Plymouth 0-0. At Watford, West Brom home to Swansea is up 2-0. And making his debut from just a little bit south of where I am, got Spencer. Welcome to the show, Spencer.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, it is still morning here. It's not even 12 yet, and I've already done a watch along and doing my show. Already been happy and sad all in the day. Arsenal does that to us. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. As far as today goes, I think I got up at 5:53. The text messages were going off from the guys over in England, and I just woke up because it's excitement. It's the first day of the season. We want to see how things go. But as far as the game goes, it's a mixed bag. The result I'll take. But if you're going to go challenge for a title, we have to just keep pushing and, improve on the little things that, so they don't happen in December and March and April. But overall, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. I'm happy with the 3 points. I didn't like the way we closed out the game. I think some of the problems that we've had in this situation are still there. I would have liked to have seen certain things happen differently. If Gabriel Margalés can make the trip and was available to play, I would have liked to see him come in a lot sooner, especially when the game started to get out of our control, right? So
Yeah.
I think Mr. Tommy, Sam told us he's got family. You knew this. Stop asking where he is. But yeah, I just think the things that I was hoping to see better from Arteta in this type of situation. Games getting out of control in the second half, right? We lose Timber, which kind of slows a little bit of the way the flow of the game was going. I can see somebody poking their head around the corner there.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's my wife, probably.
Yeah, no, I was hoping that, once Arteta, kind of lost Timber and the flow of the game started to go, it just went really, as some people would say, vanilla. It kind of went, it just starting to get a little bit boring in that second half. Not much was going on, just got a lot of back and forth, but nothing where anybody fully was in control of what was happening. And I think we have a bench supposedly that can help us change games when it gets to that point.
Yeah, I take notes during the game, and I think my notes for the second half are kind of there. It's just interesting because, props to Nketiah for getting his goal today. That was awesome. Martinelli with that spin move. That was just the raw talent on the wings we have is so impressive. But yeah, the Timber injury concerns me a lot. He looked really well there. He looked like he fit in well. I noticed Partey started at right back, and he stayed there. But then as the further we went on in that first half, he kind of drifted more to the center. There's so much movement. I mean, we saw Martinelli on the right wing sometimes. Like, it's hard to pinpoint where these guys play because there's so much movement. It's so free-flowing. But props to Matt Turner, too, today. First game with your new team. And I thought his back line, they just weren't doing what he wanted to do, with ball distribution and stuff. And props to him. But yeah, it's the first game of the season. But the problem I have with the way we finished out the game too is we know that there's an emphasis on time wasting, right? And Ben White, there's no reason to take that long to do that throw in, right? Like I get it's part of the tactics of the game, but that's a yellow card, critical moment. You're on the back line. All it takes is another bad tackle, and then you're out of the game. So, Rice had a couple chances today that I thought he could have put away, but it's going to get better. I think my outlook is pretty good right now. As far as I don't like how we finished the game, but the outlook for the season, yeah,
Yeah.
But Forrest
Yeah.
deserves credit.
True. True. I will compartmentalize my analysis to this one game, but as a whole, yes, you're right.
Mhm.
This is the first game, so there's a lot more. I always say I want us to improve 38 times or 37 times. So each time we play a game, we need to get a little bit better to where we're clicking towards the end of the season. We're getting better every time. So if this is our level right now, and I expect us to improve. One, if we play the same team, I expect us to improve. But we know Jesus and uh, and Zinni will be back.
Mhm.
I don't know if Tierney will be back, but we know Jesus and Zinni will be back. So Zinchenko. So I think we'll only get better there. Timber will improve. We're expecting to see the same that we saw from Saka and Martinelli. So for me, I look at it two ways. One, look at this game in a box, and then look
Mhm.
at the season as a whole. In the box, I didn't like the second half. That was I don't know if for me I feel that the second half was on Arteta. And he had to make the change for Timber, but then he also could have done some differences, some changes as well. Maybe bring, I think, Trossard on a little bit earlier, Jorginho on, just to see out. I don't. I think when you've got Partey in this game, like if this game was in the middle of the season, I wouldn't expect Partey to have to play in this one because I think Nottingham Forest isn't a team that like that he needs to play in because we need to get a win and if we're struggling, yeah, we bring him in. But I think in reality, he should be able to. He can't play 30 games for us. So kind of like I said, I look at my analysis in two ways. One is the game by itself, and the other one is as a whole and where we're going. But my initial thought is what I just saw.
Yeah.
And what I just saw, I didn't like the second half.
Well,
So
it's being clinical too. Um, and it's interesting. I don't know if you caught this morning. I think I said it in the chat on Ryan's channel, but Tim Howard said he has some inside information that Ray is there to replace Ramsdale, not to
uh,
compete. I
I
wonder
saw.
where he got it from.
Yeah, I had it on. I had the subtitles on, so I didn't hear him.
Mhm.
So, but I did see that they were talking about it. I I think for me, it's if you can get better at a position, then you do it. And especially they had their sights on him, right? So if that's the case, and if I told you we can get better at every position on this pitch, and most people would say yes, and then if I
Yeah.
told you that would be Saka, they're like, well, no, you can't let Saka go. But no, I'm telling you, we can get better, right? If you can get better at a position, it shouldn't matter who's there today, because that's what we want. We want the team to get better, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
if they feel like Raya gives them more, I didn't think they needed to get rid of Leno. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Leno was really good stopping the ball. It was his
Yeah,
distribution that everybody
yeah.
criticized. But
So
to me, a goalkeeper keeps balls out of the net, not passes the ball to the center backs and the right back. So, I mean, I'm just old school with that. But
but
I
the
loved
game's
Leno.
changing because if you're going
Yeah.
to look at the top goalkeepers in the league, one of the things you're going to tell me is City can score goals off of from their goalkeeper making clinical passes upfield. All right, so those are the cheap ones nobody talks about until they go, well, not only does he make stops, but he also creates from that back line when he makes that long pass. So Anana is supposed to be that kind of a player, not so good in goal, but really can get you goals another end. So you kind of you play with fire, right? Sometimes you
Yeah.
get burned, and sometimes you're okay.
It is absolutely a mixture of what you want to do tactically, and the game has absolutely changed. You know, I mean, it's like I said, I'm with you. I loved Leno. But we have to keep improving, and unfortunately, I look at like what would Liverpool, what would City do, what would that's only two I'm going to count up there. I mean, how cutthroat they are going to be. If Allison started playing poorly, do you think they'd start looking in the transfer market? I think they would, but um, yeah, I mean, it's all about competition, and Matt Turner. as good as we think he is as Americans, and we're a little biased, obviously, with our love for Matt Turner. He just wasn't going to be the guy that was going to push Ramsdale. So and I think they wanted Ray about 3 or 4 windows ago, but it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
So
Arteta finally gets a target that he wanted years ago. There's always a player he wants years ago, doesn't get him, and then by the time he does, they're too old. In this case, he's still a young player. So
is it possible that Arteta settled for Ramsdale but always wanted Raya, kind of like the Broncos wanted Rodgers but settled for Russell Wilson? I had to pivot to football for a second. I'm sorry, but that's kind of the thing. Like maybe Ramsdale wasn't always who Arteta wanted, and it was what he could get at the time.
I hear you, but then I go, you seriously sat around and thought that Xhaka would be the guy then? Because I don't, the process, the mindset doesn't make sense to me. Because I think I believe most people believe, take away the leadership that Xhaka brought, but the talent for that position, the way they wanted to play it, I think we could have spent a lot of money to improve it. I believe. So
yeah.
I hear you, but then I go,
Yeah.
but then some of the actions don't make any sense then, because you could have done better here, there, and everywhere, and we didn't do that some cases, right? So why wouldn't you do it for Xhaka, but you do it for a goalkeeper who actually got you to second place? Xhaka had one good year, and we had to sit around and wait for him to get there, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I hear what you're saying, but I think the way they're acting doesn't it's like they pick and choose when to do it as opposed to be consistent, right? If you feel like you can do better, then just go get somebody better, especially for that position. Because at one point for me, we had a great starting 11. The one weakness would have been Xhaka for me. Like if we improve that, maybe we score some more goals, you know. And then there's a difference in, does it really matter if we give up a goal because we missed some of his intensity, but maybe we're up 2 goals as opposed to one.
Yeah, there is some. I just wonder, like these everything's been calculated. It's been a 4 or 5 year overhaul of this team,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because you mentioned Xhaka, and we changed the way we play. I think with him last year, but again, there was so much liabilities. Xhaka is one of those polarizing characters that you either love him or you don't, and it is an interesting. It is definitely a good point you bring up there about the difference in how people were handled. I mean, there's some people that say that Xhaka should have never played for the team anymore because he threw the armband down and took the shirt off. And there's the character arc and the redemption story, whether you like that stuff or not. The media loves that stuff. But yeah, it is interesting. I do wonder. Rice was brought in to potentially be that replacement guy. They say Havertz was. I think today's lineup is really telling as well, that I think he wanted to see what it was like to have Rice, Partey, Odegaard, and I'm missing someone's name. Havertz, there we go, on the field at the same time in the midfield. I think he wanted to see that. I think that's because that was my initial, okay, this is to see if we can do it with all four, and when we're at home, put these teams away early, which in theory we did. We just didn't. We took our foot off the gas and stopped being clinical. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point there, Gary. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
There are inconsistencies.
And for me, I feel a more seasoned manager doesn't think that those players having to play together has to be something that is done day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's not ready, it's not ready, and that's okay. You have time to build into this. If he learned anything from Pep, is if it's not ready, I'm not going to force it. I'm going to let it kind of grow, organically, to where, you know what, I know here's a strong lineup I can get, and those players that need to work on certain things to get into the starting lineup, they get that chance. Like, some people might say Havertz doesn't deserve to start, over Trossard in that situation. Maybe Trossard should, or whatnot, or but I believe we kind of rotated when we didn't have to. You had Tomiyasu could have come in and play with a standard back four, and then you've got Rice and Partey and Odegaard playing, and that would be, for me, that's why you have the depth. I don't think putting Partey in the back line is is the answer when you don't. That's what you do in a pinch when you have to go to your third option. We
Yeah.
had second options, so that's why you want depth. When you have second options, you use them, and then if you need to, then maybe you bring up Partey and put him on the back line to see the things out. You know what I mean? That's for
Yeah.
me. That's what I think we should have done. And then we would be playing the form, the formation that we've always been playing with players all in their positions. Because I think having Partey having to roll back and forth from that back line to the midfield, I don't want him to have to do any more extra than he already does.
That's a lot to ask too. That doing that type of transition to make sure that you're a back, but then they ask you to go inside a little bit, and then the long ball beats it. Partey did get beat on one long ball today. I think he bit on the defender, and it turned into almost a chance for Forrest. But again, another guy to give credit to, and his track back ability is Saliba. I mean, there was some times Saliba saved us with these runs, and in Rice as well. I have a note. Rice made a good tackle in the first half in the first
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too. To me, Tommy Asu, I view him as a right back and a center back. I think he should potentially. I mean, I also wonder if they're just thinking about doing a back three. But if you're looking at straight right back, I'm with you. Tommy Asu's got to be out there. Ben White's got to be your first option, second option. Even if you got to put Tierney out there, but I just don't think Partey at right back is the right answer.
We put Carrier on as a fullback as well. We got the boss in the house. It could have been 2-2. I mean, I think that's why I think there was either two things that should happen. Either we needed to close out the game with a goal, or we needed to get that third goal early in the second half and then have 3-0 at halftime. You know what I mean? So, yeah, less than a day and EPL without leads is already trash. Wait, the top two teams of the league last season are still there right now. So maybe not. Maybe not. Brighton's up 2-0 on Luton right now, so they're sitting in second right now. I got a score in a Crystal Palace game. Crystal Palace away. They have just scored. There was a goal in the Fulham game. Fulham is up 1-0 on Everton. I have Everton getting relegated this season. So there you go. I also had Sheffield United being my upset team today, so we'll see. Jacques did have the passion, though. You're right about that. I think that's what we've lost with him gone. But I believe Rice is there. Rice can do. He'll be fine.
Rice there's passion, and then there's level-headed passion, right?
Yeah, and Rice is going to give you the second one.
Yes, and that's what we needed because we can go back to. And I don't even want to bring because it's not fair to really bring Jacques up in this, but the passion was there. But I mean, you didn't know if he was going to punch a guy in the field, grab him by the throat, headbutt him. There was just too many. It was a wild card, and served a purpose. But now we have an upgrade absolutely in Declan Rice, and the options are there. I mean, you're looking at the bench today. I mean, it was Smith Rowe was on the bench. There was a lot of options, but yeah, I mean. The 3 points so far in the standings, City's got 3 and we got 3, and that's the key right now, keeping that the distance close.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does love stuff like that.
So you got the boss in the house, and you got Taib has joined us. Welcome to the show, Taib. Taib with the jokes. Brighton, up 2-0. Everybody's saying hello. How many points will Luton get? We did a relegation prediction on the stoop with Lolo last night. I had 11 points or is it 13? I had 13 points for them, and I think it's a little bit low. I think I was a little mean there, but he's got 25. I don't know what you think about Luton. How do you feel their point total?
Honestly, know nothing about them. I saw them in the EFL Championship, the playoff promotion, but I don't watch enough of the Championship. I don't, unfortunately, have the time to watch it. Yeah. So I really don't. I know they got Ross Barkley. I know they have an awesome stadium that's in people's backyards. Probably a dream to probably live there, I'd imagine, to have a football stadium right there. I probably have them closer to, like Mr. Tom said, 25 points probably. Yep. They're going to sneak up on somebody. It's probably going to be a hostile ground to go to. Somebody in the Big Six is going to lose there or get a draw. It's not going to be the Derby County that had the lowest point total. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of where I was going with my total. So yeah.
yeah, did you get a chance to check out the Burnley game last night with City?
I did watch that. I did watch that. Let me go through this chat
Oh,
real
you're good.
quick. Oh yeah, Mr. Tom is just not. He's not a Nanto fan right now. People, Nanto is on his bad list. He's getting coal at the end of the. If he's getting anything from Mr. Tom, he's getting coal. The assembled has joined us. Welcome to the show. 13 points. Yeah, I was a little bit mean. Luton didn't do anything to upset me. I went with a number, and I should have done a little bit more research to know that number is pretty telling. But we'll see. I think this league has gotten stronger, and a team coming in that hasn't been in for a while. I think it's going to be a shock to the system. So that's part of why I have them going to being 20th. So I think it's going to be a tough on them, especially with the way I think the top 10 teams are going to punish the bottom 10 teams or the bottom 15, the bottom 5 teams of the league. And I think Luton's in one of those. So they'll beat a big 6 team at home. Yeah, I think they will surprise a team like most games. I don't think you can't take anybody lightly on their day. They can get you. The trick is you always have answers on the bench, and you can get punished by not using it. Yeah, and assembled. I hope you're wrong. I hope you're very wrong about Arsenal giving away points to the bottom. But you know
Yeah,
what? I think there was what is it? A couple of years ago, I think we gave away points to the
Brentford.
bottom. Yeah, no, it was a team that was relegated. We dropped points to them. I think twice. I think we might have
Oh,
lost
it's
and
last
drew
year.
them. Uh,
Southampton twice. We drew them twice.
yeah, So there you go. So yeah. So and we still finished second. So you take that's 2 points we
4 points.
gave. That's 4 points could have made the difference and put a little bit of pressure on City to win out. But
Yeah, that's the thing you want to see this year is take care of the teams you're supposed to take care of. And they did today. I mean, it could have gone really south, but it didn't.
yeah,
So it's kind of a glass half full, half empty type thing where
yeah,
when you come to these levels and you're trying to title championship for the title, you don't want to have these moments, but you find a way to get through these games, and yeah, they did today.
true.
But let's see, I had a question I want to ask you. What was your impression of Timber's first game for us, at least to the first half?
I
Thought he was
believe.
excellent.
Yeah, I think he's. Yeah, I think he's really good. I think he's really good. I'm not surprised that he got an injury to some degree because I think the Premier League is a little bit, you he put that challenge in there where he got initially injured early in the first half,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he needed to do that, and it kind of hindered him a little bit after that, and I think the doctors didn't help him either by pushing him back out there for the second half
Yeah.
because he did the fact 2 minutes in and he's down again and he's out,
Yeah.
so that didn't whatever the analysis was. It should have been an easy half. That's when Arteta and Arsenal should be making a halftime sub and getting a free substitution when it's needed. Because this is why you have depth. He went down. You did whatever analysis. Oh no, I think I can make it through. And 2 minutes in, he's out. So that can't be whatever analysis they did. They kind of I think they hurt him a little way and wasted a substitution.
And we lost our
Okay.
team doctor as well. He went to
Yeah,
United. So there's
yeah,
a new crew running it with new, here's again, I say this a lot, especially in American football. You can appoint someone, but do you empower them?
true.
So does the medical person empowered to tell Arteta, hey, he's got to go? It's a good question. It's probably a discussion that'll absolutely, I think, will be had between Arteta and the medical staff this week.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's good news. I heard someone try to say it was an ACL. It just does. It looks more like a calf injury the way he was touching the top of his calf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought he
So
just pulled a muscle there,
yeah,
because there didn't seem to be much stress. It just seemed like he was running back, pressed down, and then was like, he didn't collapse because I think if it was a knee, he might have just collapsed.
yeah,
We've got a goal in the Bournemouth game. Bournemouth is now 1-1 with West Ham. Just had a penalty
and
kick for
Luton.
Luton, I think it is. So they're down now 2-1. So yeah. So yeah.
I mean, this
But
league
it's
is crazy.
yeah.
This is the thing about it. That's why we love this sport. You just,
Mm,
if you knew what was going to happen, why watch it? I mean,
yeah.
I would love to see Luton stay up. I mean, I know you and I both picked them to get relegated, but I mean, I think it's a great story, and
Yeah. Like I think
you know,
Everton, I believe, and Luton are two teams most people had in the relegation zone. I think Everton's had 2 seasons now where they've been teasing and toying with getting relegated, and I think this might be the season. This might be the
we,
season where they finish off the job and finish up, you know, in 18th or lower. So
what's funny? I don't know if you listen to Sirius XM, but the Grumpy Pundits some have Tom Rennie on, and Tom Rennie refers to Everton as the cockroach of the Premier League. You can step on them, but they don't go away.
that's what a lot
Because
of people say.
it's been like 75 years since they've been relegated. So I
True,
mean, it's pretty
true.
impressive for them to stay up. But when I started watching this, Everton was like that one that was always challenging to get into the top six.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right about
mismanagement
that.
will do it to you.
No, yeah. I think it's funny because everybody said of the 3 or 4 teams that we saw regularly on that relegation list, Everton's the one team everybody was like, they're still the one team that could still, you know, get out of there. So yeah, they assembled. Yeah, I did not expect to see Timber when he went down with the way he went down, knowing that based on knowing more that he came back in and went down 2 minutes in. That's more the case. If he had come in and maybe 10, 15 minutes later, yeah. But the fact that within 2 minutes of the half starting, he's down and out, I think that's bad, 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 bad. Um,
Yeah, Tom
yeah,
said
Luke,
if he, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
He said if I wanted a great story, I'd read the script for Diary.
It's nonsense, man. Just nonsense. This man. That's all he's giving us is nonsense.
It's because I
Everton
brought
beat
up
us.
Luton as a story.
Yeah, you're right. The boss is right. Everton did beat us.
Yeah,
Yeah, we seem to, we lose those types of games, and that's got to change. It can't be new manager bounce. It can't be they brought in this new player. It can't be, well, we can't. We struggle against teams at the bottom of the table, kind of thing. It can't be those things need to go away from the script per se.
yeah. That's a mindset too, I think, right? You go into games confident, do your business. I think the big problem last year, especially during that stretch, against Liverpool, West Ham, um, you go up two
Southampton,
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, you go up 2-0. You need to finish that out. There's no excuse for losing games like that or even drawing them. Like,
yeah,
it's so hard to score in this league. So you have to take your chances, and you also have to stop the team when they have their chances.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and a team like Nottingham Forest today, they set up in a low block, and they got us on the counter. And that's props to them on it. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Yeah. You just said it right there. We're up 2-0. We need to see out the game. We're
mhm.
up 2-0 today, and we didn't do that again. So we still have a lot to learn, I think, either as players or manager. But I just, that's why you have the depth for these types of reasons, so you have answers.
That's true.
Arteta's got to be a little bit quicker on the draw when it's time to to change things up. That's why the second half went the way it did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the substitutions, because I think what I have written down for subs, and Kedia went off on the 73rd minute. I think that move should have been probably about 4 or 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would have probably brought on Gabrielle at that point too.
True. Very
You
true.
know,
Looks like Brighton just scored, so they're up. They just responded back to Luton's goal. They're up 3-1 now on Luton. So Brighton is looking all right. It's looking all right. Both Everton and that team waste money, have nothing to show for it, and are perpetually overshadowed by a local team in red. Very true. Very true. And that's why, we're kind of talking about, the Harry Kane thing today because we had an extra half an hour to just chat before the game. We kind of were talking about Harry Kane. Everybody's saying I'm giving some love to Harry Kane. I think that team did not support him. He doesn't have the mindset to be that player, that leader, that one you lean on. So you need to give him more. You need to give him more support. We talk about managers needing support from the ownership and all of that. Kane needed support from other players. Son helped, but he needed a lot more than that.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever had a question on their front three, but it's always for me the issue with them, because I'll stick to your narrative of them.
Yeah.
Uh, it's the midfield for me. Like I just don't think they've ever had this midfield outside of Ericsson, right? Like Ericsson was definitely pretty good, but even their back line is questionable. Um, I think Ange is a good manager, but I'm just glad that he doesn't have him to help his team out. So that and the thing that I really wanted to see happen is him stay there and walk away for free and they get nothing. But I mean, if they got 100 million for him, a guy 1 year left on his deal, I would hate to see what they could reinvest with that.
Sure.
But I expect Ange to probably rate some of Celtics players too. He'll probably, I mean, Jota would have been a guy that I always looked at with Celtic and thought he was pretty decent, but he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't, I mean, I can't function the man or blame the man for wanting to go play for Munich. He wants to go win trophies, and he can't do it where he was at.
Yep. Yep. No,
Yeah.
and I don't think he would have been allowed to stay in England playing in the Premier League. So the next best thing was to go to the best team outside in Europe and get a chance there. Bargaff, welcome to the show. Says sad opening game. I think it's the second half that was a little bit sad.
Yeah.
But as a whole, we're taking the 3 points. Nketiah scored, which is one. Like when he plays, I have to feel like he's contributing, and the main way he can do that is to score a goal. And he did that. I think he had opportunities to score earlier. I think he was a little late into the box. There's a couple times he ran behind the defender where I would have liked him to try to attack the ball, come in front of the defender, and maybe he'll get a touch on it. You saw that yesterday with that one goal from Haaland, right? He had two defenders there, and he kind of split them and was able to get a foot on because he attacked the ball as close as he could, And I think Nketiah sometimes getting into the box is a little late for me. And that's why there's a difference between him and Jesus. He'll come back and support like he's been doing in Nketiah, but then he kind of jogs back to the attacking third. And I'm like, no, you got to attack that back line, put pressure on them. Once in a while, they might slip, something, but he just kind of makes it easy to defend him.
I think that is his strength is doing the hold up play. Like you said, he's just missing something in an attacking third where he just doesn't realize where he needs to be. And it's so difficult. I mean, he wanted to succeed, but he's got to be in those positions to succeed, and he's got to take those chances. He took one today. Yeah, it was a lucky deflection, but I don't care how we get him, just get him, right?
But that what, we see strikers do that all the time.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to say like he did exactly what he's supposed to do. He put his foot through it. And a lot of times you put that ball through the leg of the defender, you're going to score because by the time the goalkeeper sees it, it's too late. Yeah. So he did exactly what he did. He put power through it, and that's why he was able to get past the goalkeeper. So for me, that's actually what a striker will do. You can't say, oh, I won't take anybody saying, he hit it off the defender, because that's exactly what he's supposed to do in that situation.
Yeah.
Put his foot through it, and yeah.
Sometimes to be a striker, you just have to be lucky, and you have to be in the right spot at the right time, and it's all about positioning. There was one cross from Martinelli today where, we could say that Nketiah's positioning probably wasn't right, but at the same time, Martinelli put too much on it. And, that's absolutely right.
We did have a lot of long passes and stuff like that, but a lot of times, like I said, we had that one opportunity from Saka down the right-hand side. He puts a cross in, and Nketiah is not in the box, and for me, he's got to be in the box. Like when Saka's making that run down that side as a striker, he's going to put the cross in. He shouldn't have to wait for you to get there. You should be there already, coming into the box, ready to put that ball away, and he wasn't for me. So he's a little late there. Will we win? I assume he means will we win the Champions League? I think that's a big ask. It's been a while for Arsenal to be back in there, and it's been not enough players that we've played with and understand how to play in in the cup matches since Arteta has fully taken control of this team. So I think the experience is not there yet for us to do that. Not gonna lie, not a fan of Kane. Seems like a good person though. You know what? He might be a good player. He's a good footballer, good person. I don't know. I don't know much of him outside of football. So as a
Yeah.
football fan, I didn't like playing against him because he's going to get the call, he's going to get the penalty, all that kind of stuff, and I hated that. Glad to see that back of him can probably cheer for England now. Is that how it works now? So you can cheer for England because he doesn't play for that team.
Well, hey, look, the Tyler Adams move to Chelsea apparently fell apart.
Yeah,
I
I would
heard
have
that
liked
did.
Arsenal to go get him. I kind of felt like he would be a good person to bring in.
Yeah, the age and the
For that
profile, absolutely.
for that price, and
Oh yeah.
we don't have to rush him in, and it gives us a nice transition if you want to get rid of Jorginho kind of thing, So let's see. Nketiah's strength is positional goals, but he is not exactly a poacher. I think the most annoying part is how crazy our fans gas him up with no respect to proven players. Yeah, yeah. I can hear. I see what you're saying there. He's not a poacher because he's not there he's definitely not in the box enough to where he can just poach goals away when the mistakes are made. It needs to go perfect for him sometimes. But today he did make the play. He was there. I mean, it was a nice back heel from Martinelli on that little spin, and he took the defender to the left, back to the right, near post score. I mean, I don't know. I think he did well on that. So I'm going to take that. He did well there. I've really seen a footballer with more of an it factor. Okay, see, this is where Mr. Tom, your football knowledge should be questioned. You talk about I keep trying to say you know a lot about football, and then you put this in there, and I'm going to leave it up there for a little while so everybody can just absorb this and go, yeah.
Yeah. Tom's great. I mean, he's a legend. He's a legend. He's got the crisp of the show. I mean, he is a fixture of Don't Waste.
You give all these segments, and the guy just once in a while just puts this stuff out there, right? So in the chat, yeah, let's go championship scores real quick here. As you said, Southampton is now down 3-1 at home to Norwich. 3-4, sorry, to Norwich. You've got a 4-1 Hull over Sheffield Wednesday at home. Huddersfield is losing to Leicester at home. Cardiff is down 2-1 to QPR. Leeds, of course, still 0-0 in the 89th minute. They're going to get 2 draws in a row here. I guess you'll take the draws right at this point, right? It's early part of the season. Got West Brom up 3-2, still on Swansea. So, yeah. And as they said, Eddie won the Ballon Tom of the match for the season. So, there you go. Eddie always scores when he starts, and that's the problem. Eddie only scores when he starts. Eddie is one of the worst players coming off the bench, and guess what? He's not our starter. Like, he's going to start in cup games. He'll start when we need to rest Jesus, or when Jesus is out injured, I guess. But in reality, if he doesn't start mentally, I think he's already turned off. He doesn't bring it. I think that's a bad mentality for a player. When you play, you score is the way it should work. I don't know how you feel about Nketiah. And I still go back to that quote where he basically said, I need 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard to come on in these relief roles. But again, this is, I hate this term when I say it, but I'm going to say it, elite sport. It just sounds so weird to say that. But you have to take the opportunities you're given. And, in life, sometimes you're not given a full day to make a decision. Sometimes you got to make a decision in 10 minutes. Your boss calls you up at 2:30 and we got something that needs to be figured out by 3:30, make a decision. So, but it's how life is. And that's the thing. I want Nketiah to succeed. I will never want an Arsenal player to fail, but he makes it hard to root for him at times. And as much as I hate saying that, I think we talked about it earlier, man, we need our second striker to, at bare minimum, get 10 goals. And I think he had 9 last year, but a lot of those were in the Europa League. Um, he serves a purpose on this team, but he's not the guy you want as your second guy. But like today, like if you could get me a replacement, I would unfortunately have to sell him.
Yep.
You know, and I
Yeah.
I thought he was going to get sold at the beginning of the window. I really thought he would get moved on. And even Balogun, like that's another one that not to get that train started, but um, I would have thought he would have found a place in this team too. And then you would have had 3 guys to potentially go to and make changes. Because, Jesus can play the wing as well. So you can move Saka on. You have 9 people on your bench. You could find a spot for Balogun on that bench. It doesn't have to be there every week. But
Yeah.
yeah, I go to whoscored.com, if you don't mind me for a second.
Yeah.
What they broke down for today, they said Arsenal's strengths were affecting a creative goal scoring opportunities from the flanks. Weakness caught offside often. Styles had a large quantity of possession in their opponent's half. Favored long shots. Dominated possession. Favored short passing. Forest, for the other hand, created a high number of chances to their relative possession. Stole the ball often from the opposition, and they lost the possession often. They favored long shots, had a high shot frequency when in possession, favored crossing the ball, and favored long balls.
Yeah.
So that's from
See,
score.com.
yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna upset Mr. Tom, but Brighton just scored to finish right at the end of the game here.
Yep.
Birmingham just got a penalty after Mr. Tom said that, so they're now up 1-0 with during the extra time right now. So hopefully we see Mr. Tom, and yeah, Mr. Tom is not happy. Maybe we'll see him. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure now, but I hear you. No, I like I said, I want Nketiah to be successful for us, but I just don't like we keep talking about what Arteta ball requires. I don't think he has. I don't think he's that answer. I don't think he's that answer, and that's the thing. So it, when we put him in situations where he should dominate, he doesn't. Like in the Europa League, I expected him to dominate there. He didn't. All right, and we're gonna complain and say, well, he wasn't playing with, the starters. But we're playing the Europa League teams in that group weren't the strongest,
Right.
right? We played Boda twice, so he needed to dominate, I think, and he didn't. For me, he needed to be able to do the things that Arteta wants him to do in the Premier League in the Europa League, because the competition was just not as good, and he didn't do that either. So for me, he didn't take the opportunity he had either to work on the things that Arteta wants. He needed to score more. I don't, at some point you make your own success sometimes, I think, and he didn't do that either. So that was me. So Bournemouth drew 1-1 with West Ham. Yeah, he has to prove himself even more. No, that's for me. The pressure's on him, and he needs to show up. Yep, and Mr. Tom's blaming it on Nanta, who he didn't show up for his team. Didn't even want to put on the shirt. So yeah, now we can go like you said on Balogun and Nketiah. I think when you've got those 2 players, I think Balogun should have been sold already if he's not part of the plan. I think keeping him around for as long as we did, with no intention to even give him a chance, soured the whole relationship. And I think we're just seeing the Balogun side of it because he's a young player, a little immature. And so, people are going to say this and that about him, but I think the team should have sold him. Like they should have taken that 20-goal scorer and said, you know what, this is a player that you want, we'll sell him. Because think about it, if they sold him for the 35 mil euros, which I think is too low, earlier in the window, maybe we could have gotten another player, But I think holding on to him and not he needed to be sold as soon as possible, as opposed to after we always thought, right? We thought going into this thing that he would come in and then we would let him, play his way into the team. He never got that chance. He never got a chance to show himself. He played one game, had a couple opportunities that I think Nketiah doesn't even put out there for us to see. and then he was injured and didn't get opportunities. I mean, he could have played against in New Jersey when I went out to watch
Yep.
the Manchester United game. I think he was on the bench and didn't even come on.
Yeah, he played an MLS game. It's funny you mentioned Balogun, so I'm gonna and you said this, and there's two people that have had interesting takes on this. Sam's the other one. Sam mentioned if you have a kid from Halen that someone wants 40 million for him, and he's not in your plans, you drop him to the airport, right? But on the flip side, which you said, and I agree with this 110%. I actually agree with both perspectives on this fence post that are on this one. But where else are you gonna find a 20-goal striker? I don't care if it's a farmers league, if that's your mentality. I was talking to an Inter Milan fan this week, and he's like, well, Arsenal came off their price, and I'm like, you guys aren't broke. Like, pay the 50 million for him. You know what I mean? Or don't get him. Don't tell us to come off the price. And I know I've used the corny term, the goodwill of selling players, but look at Pepe, for example. Bistekis wants them to give it to him for free. I get like the contract's probably bad, so no one wants to take that contract. But I mean, it's crazy. I would hold on to him, and I have a price point. Where are you going to find a 20-goal striker?
True.
And that's why I think we should still give him a run in the team. That's why I wonder if it's an attitude issue, bad agent giving bad advice.
At some point, the teams will have to look at a player and go, is it the player or is it the agent that I'm listening to right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because Nanto is obviously listening to his agent with the actions that he has there. If you really want to go get to it, go to another team, not playing is definitely not the answer when you're healthy.
I mean, is he even going to make Inter Milan's starting lineup? Because Lissandro Martinez is still there. I think Lukaku left, right? Is he still there?
I don't think he's gone anywhere just yet, but he's not.
That's my point. Like,
but he's a 20-goal scorer,
right?
So
I just think it's
so everybody keeps talking about this 20-goal scorer, and I'm like, well, that's not in
you
the Premier
have
League.
one.
Guess how many 20-goal scorers there are in the Premier League? There were 3. One's gone. There's only 2. Salah
and to be fair,
and Haaland. That's it. There's nobody else.
And to be fair, based on the quality of the people we have on our left wing and right wing, I don't need 20 goals from you. I need 15.
Yep.
Or even 25 goal scoring created opportunities, whether that's assists and goals mixed. It infuriates me, Gary. But I do wonder about the attitude and, is that agent led? Is it a hungry young man that wants to get out there, prove his worth? I think that story isn't completely written. I know people say,
we don't know. We don't know all the background stuff. I'd just like to say hi to Mom. Mom's joined us. Welcome to the show, Mom. Yeah, I don't think we know the whole picture, and 2, I don't know what more Balogun has to do on a loan spell to not be an answer to your question. Like, we sent Saliba out on loan for a particular reason, comes back as one of the top defenders, young defenders in Europe. Excellent. Isn't that the answer? Like you pose a question to a player when you put him out on loan. I need to see certain things of you when you come back. What says that then 20 goals in a league? Not too many people do that. Maybe because they had 5 or 6 or 7 players with 20 goals. But Mbappe is one of those, Messi's up there. I mean, yes, Lacazette has it, but we're talking about a 20-year-old. So for me, if you're 21 years old and you're up there scoring 20 goals with retired, with some older players and whatnot, that should count as something because that shows potential that you're looking for in a young player. And also, Manchester United spent 70 on a player who had half as many goals. So you're saying that player's got more potential than Balogun? I'll be hard pressed to believe that he's worth twice the amount of Balogun because of potential.
That's facts.
Yeah, I just if you can't find a spot for a 20-goal scorer, it doesn't matter what league they're coming for. At one point he was leading the league. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again, and I'm like, we just don't. If you don't want him, sell him. Same thing. Like if you don't want Pepe, let him go so you can move on. It's not worth trying to get money out of him for him or whatever. because nobody's going to want to pay it. Because guess what? Arteta shows that not Arteta, but Arsenal shows their hand. If I drove by your house for a year and there was a car sitting in the front and it never moved, and I knocked on your door and said, "Do you want to sell it?" and you said, "Yeah," for 20 grand, and I'm like, "But you never use it," and you're like, "No, it's worth that." I'm like, "But you never use it. I've seen
Yeah.
it. It's never moved. Look, the tires are flat. You're not using it. Here's 5 grand. Here's 10 grand for it. You know what I mean? That's the scenario that we have. We have players. One, we're not using. They don't fit our style of play, but we want to get top money for them when they haven't actually performed for anybody to see.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Like, when the dirty laundry gets aired out, and we could talk about Ozil, Pepe, all the guys that have been potentially frozen out over the last 4 or 5 years, you can't really expect to get top dollar because you basically told the club, like, I don't value this person. There's something wrong with them. That's why you brought this up, and it's facts. Everybody talks about, oh, drop 80 on Tony. You're not going to have to drop 80 million on Tony. Tony has a problem where he got himself in trouble. There's going to be questions in his contract going forward, whether, like morality clauses about whether he bets or not. You could probably get him for 45 million or 40 million. I mean, it's one of those deals where, obviously Brentford value him, but I mean, there's the risk of taking him too. He's gotten himself in trouble, and we see the sports betting going all over the place. Like, I hate to bring that up. He's not going to be the last person that gets busted for this, unfortunately.
Yeah. And he's not the first, of course. So,
oh, absolutely not.
Because you think about it, they've had people talk when he first when those allegations came out. It was like, oh, well, this player had whatever 20 bets or whatever, and got whatever 2 or 3 months out. So he's lucky to only have gotten the 6 months or whatever that he did get, because he overdid it.
It's difficult because with the Pepe one, like, I know I just talked about getting money for players. Pepe's not going to get you much on the open market, I don't think. Even if the Saudis aren't going to buy him off you for 15, 20 million, then, and I just want to at least get 4 or 5 million back.
He would shine in the Saudi league, so that's the part that I don't get.
I have a crazy idea. I would loan him out to the Colorado Rapids and send him out to America and bring interest to the Rapids. It's crazy, I know.
You are a very mean man.
I mean,
you're a very mean man. He plays for the Ivory Coast. He's not going to the MLS.
Look, I loved Nicolas Pepe too. Don't get me wrong. I loved Pepe. I loved the talent he bought. But I just feel like since you own the asset, you put him on a little 6-month loan right there, let him shine, and then maybe some comes in and buys him from you.
I get that. I get that. I mean, I get that.
That was a little mean. I apologize. But, I mean,
I think he feels he's a little bit better than MLS at this point. I think he is better than MLS, but if Arsenal wants to get money for him, I think they have to. We talk about being real. People talk about being real all the time.
Yeah.
At some point, Arsenal, you're not going to get whatever you're expecting to get for him. He hasn't shown up for anybody consistently enough to be worthy of whatever value you have for him. You're not going to recoup the 72, so forget about it. You're not going to recoup the 35, so forget about it.
Yeah.
Any monies you get for him is a bonus at this point. You get his salary. I mean, he makes what, 140 or 140. For me, I never understand why. Okay, he's making 140. You want him gone. You're not going to make any money for him. At the least, pay half his salary. Let him go. Pay half his salary. He's not on your books anymore. You've got an extra $70K a week to put towards another player, but you're not going to get the value for money there. So let him go, but help. Get him out the door. I always wonder why teams can't do that. Should do that because it's cheaper than letting them walk for free or paying them out. They want the salary. They don't care about the value that they get sold for. So yeah, he's got 1 year left. Pay half his salary, and then I think he has 1 year. Maybe he has 2 years. But if they paid half the salary, that's still extra money in your pocket as opposed to nothing.
And he could still go to the Saudi league on a free and make a decent salary over there. They'd still pay him for that.
They would pay him more than he's making now. So I think they just don't want to pay the fee that Arsenal wants to give. But I don't think Arsenal's looking at it like, well, there's there's 140K out there that back in our
So I
pockets.
so I think with that, and this is just my gut feeling on it, with the window having I think 20 some days left, the
Mhm.
Pepe situation is one of those ones that I think they're going to potentially wait till deadline day to see if someone wants them. If not, they're going to terminate the contract and tell them that thank you for your service. And it's going to be one of those unfortunate transfers where I thought he was a really good player. He didn't have the football intelligence to do what Arteta wanted him to do, and he made some crazy moves at times. But he was such a raw talent, and it's one of those ones you're going to look back at and be like, man, unfortunately, like you wish it would have worked out, but
Yep.
it just didn't.
Yep.
Um, and it's one of those scary things, right? Like teams pay so much for a player, and if it doesn't work out, it makes that owner gun shy to go buy another big player and spend a lot of money on him.
True.
But yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, very unfortunate with Pepe. But
Yep. Yeah. I always go back to I think if Arteta showed him the same love that he showed to Xhaka, would we have gotten more out of Pepe? Both
that's a
of them,
very good
if
point.
you remember, both of them got red cards, and one was treated like a pariah. The other one wasn't. A couple 2 years ago, I think he head butted Pepe, and then Xhaka got a red card that same season.
It was an Elites game too, by the way.
Yeah, and
Mr. Tom,
and
where you at?
so for me, I know that
Yeah.
players get treated differently, but I think if you're looking at the type of personality of a player, Pepe, the way he treated Pepe, basically was so bad because Pepe needs a little bit more support. I think Pepe needs the hand around the shoulder kind of thing. Um, Xhaka doesn't need it as much, but he gets a lot. He gets it even when he doesn't need it. You know what I mean? And I think if you're trying to get a player to play for you, you got to show him a lot of love, especially Pepe. He needs to know that you trust him, you believe in him, and when he gets out there, do your job, and you'll be fine.
Well, you bring up a good point there, and to pivot to the NFL, but we saw recently Sean McCoy come out talking about Eric Bieniemy and how he talks to the players,
Yeah.
and how it's a
Welcome to
different
the show.
NFL.
Mhm.
But think about man management in general. You are a manager, so you have to manage personalities. It's like a sports psychology, and everybody gets really they get a little like it's not sensitive, but they don't really like to hear about the mental aspect of the game. But it's such a big important part, especially nowadays where it's not coddling personalities, but people take different motivating factors. They handle criticism differently. And I think Jocko is one of those people that probably wore his heart on his sleeve because you watched him and I think he did a football thing where he was talking about his family and he's very emotional. So I can imagine Jocko immediately went to Arteta and was like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And Pepe's a little bit more reserved, could be a language barrier on top of that. And maybe Arteta just read it wrong. I mean, all these the manager, like you hire these people, they have to be able to read body language, and they have to be able to get the best out of. It's great. Your tactics are great. Great, you run a 4-3-3, but I have 25 players that run a 4-2-3-1. Figure out how you're going to make it work, and it's all about the man management.
True. Very true. Very true. And I think Pepe is easily a 10 goal scorer in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Just I think we have to some degree killed his value, and I say we do that a lot. We kill the value of some of our players sometimes, where either we don't play them, or we play them out of position. Like Xhaka made Arsenal an extra 8-10 mil because we finally played him in a position that suited him. He excelled at it. And then when we were going to sell him, we said, "No, no, no, it's going to cost a little bit more now because you see what you're getting." Huh? Pepe is got more talented in that foot of his than Xhaka does, and we never got to see it enough. If I told you, you know what, either coming off the bench or starting, you're going to be guaranteed a goal or a scoring opportunity every time, you'll take that because that's what you want out of some of your players. He always he starts a game. You always knew there was an opportunity he was going to score.
Yeah, he was going
Pretty
to have
much.
a couple chances that
Yeah.
were just,
Yeah.
he'd probably put one of them away.
Yeah.
Matteo Ganduzi's another person I think about.
Mm.
There was attitude there, but
Yeah.
that's a guy we could have got 30-40 million for, right?
Yeah.
Like he was the potential's there. I know he's had issues at PSG and other spots, but he's a guy who made a bonehead move in that Brighton game during COVID.
Yeah.
and he just got frozen out. But apparently he didn't. I mean, it's a little different than him and Pepe, but it's another example of I didn't value anymore, and it showed. And these the
No,
poor teams.
think about that, and then look at Trossard, and then tell me how different was it, and why Arsenal will go out and we spent 27 on the Trossard, who was out of practice and all of that stuff with his manager when they were conflicting, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the reason was, but they weren't in the same place, and he wasn't going to be there. They were happy to have him sit there and kind of rot, essentially. We went
But
out
that
there
was
and we bought him knowing that. Now you're a player who you've been with for a year or two. You shut him out, and somehow you can't get close to their value. I don't understand how that is, and I think it's perception, and that's it's part of Arsenal has created a persona that they when you get one of their players, it's because they don't want them and they're worth less than the value that Arsenal asks for.
I think it's the salary put them on. I think the wages are a big deterrence as well.
Mm, mm, mm.
So if you got someone on 100 grand a week, Brighton may not be able to afford a player on 100 grand a week. So it's harder for them to absorb those wages,
Mm,
and the player's going to want it as close to his wages as possible. I think that factors a little bit into it. Um,
mm,
there's a
mm.
lot. Transfers are very tricky because a player is valued at what a club is willing to pay for them,
True.
and Leandro Trossard, I mean, transformed us last year. I think 100% was the signing of the January window. Um, and it's, look at what he's done. He's one of these guys that we're screaming for him to be in the starting lineup. We don't know where he would potentially fit. We say the 9 role. That's where I'd love to see him. And I'm sure you are the same way. But, teams are what players are what a team's willing to pay for. And it's
I,
it's
I hear,
it's an interesting dynamic. Very
I hear you.
interesting.
I mean, sometimes I feel you can cut some money off the value if it's because of the salary, because then they get the money back. You know what I mean? So I think there's different ways to handle that. Like if a player's making 5 mil a season and the valuation is 23, 24, something like that, and you say
Yeah.
I'll give it to you for 20, they're saving money on the sale. They're making that money back on the value of the player that they spent. The Arsenal since 1987 has joined us. Welcome, you know what? If Arteta is treating this like a preseason, then that means that we've got a lot of room to improve, and I'll be okay with that. If I told you like, we're still figuring out the way we're gonna play, and that's what we saw today. Even though I don't think so, because I think the first half we had 91% possession for like
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes of the game. So they were going to let us control it. We just didn't, we didn't get, we had one shot in that first 20, 30 minutes, I think. Not good. Not good. I think they had an opportunity to score late with that one mistake with the header. I don't know whose mistake that was. So let's go to that. Remember that header? Saliba heads it, and then they head it back, and then they've got a player coming off sides and another player
Oh,
going in the
yeah.
opposite direction. And for me, I don't know. I think that's a Ben White situation because he can
10th
see it in
minute.
front of him.
10th
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Saliba missed it.
You
It
think it's
was
Saliba?
yeah, if you look back at the header, it headed back towards the Forest side, and Forest headed it back. Saliba was kind of man marking, and it went over his head a little bit. It was a poor hitter initially, a poor hitter clearance, but Forest headed it back in, and then I think it was Johnson. I have written down Johnson. Luckily Ramsdale rushed him, right?
Yeah.
Because if Ramsdale stays in that goal, like that's 1-0 Forest.
So I got two things for you on that one. I because I saw the replay, and I think the reason why Saliba gets caught in there is because the player coming off sides is coming
Mhm.
in right behind him, so he
Yes.
interferes. So I don't think he was going to get there. Ben White there was a lot of space between him and Saliba at that point,
Mhm.
but I think he's the only one that can see that run because he's looking right at it. He's got a guy off to his right, but I think we just got caught out really bad with that header coming back in, and you're probably right. Saliba's header kind of created that because it was a header right back to them, as opposed to if he takes that out wide, maybe they don't get that opportunity because it was right. It was too close to the middle of the field. They just headed it right back, and then we got caught out. So I think it starts with the header from Saliba,
Yep.
and then I think we're caught in no man's land at that
We
point.
were also playing an offside trap there, Gary, and it was almost an expectation that the guy that was offside for Forrest was going to get called for offside, but Johnson just timed that run so
He did.
perfectly that he was
did.
like, boom, he was right there, and you're like, oh no. And it's one of those goals, if you give it up, obviously we hate it as Arsenal fans. You look back, you're like, man, it's well played. Like,
Yeah.
like if you can
I think
time that offside run.
yeah, I think also with that one, Nick, you said, I think Ramsdale, I think he committed too soon, like he does on penalties. Because if that's any other striker, they see him inch to the left there, because he thinks you're going to try to go over his shoulder, which he did try to do that, and you just pull it back, and then you just kind of just dribble past him and tap it in. I think if that was pick any older uh, attacker at that particular point, they got the goalkeepers beat you. I expected a goal at that point.
I did too.
We're playing Manchester United, we're playing City, we're playing West Ham or whoever. I think they're scoring that one. All right, the way that ball played out, the goalkeeper comes out, he's in trouble because he's going to have to either go down and take you down, but you're not going to allow him to not allow you to get that shot off in the right position. If that's Saka in that situation or Martinelli in that situation, we're not happy about the results of that.
No, of course not. But as a former low level keeper, I have to defend Ramsdale to an extent, only based on this. You've got to make the goal smaller, right?
Yes.
So you got to rush him, and he played it well. But like you said, it should have been put away. But I don't know many keepers that probably would have stopped that too if they're in that one-on-one situation. It's so hard.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a little biased. I play keeper a little bit.
No, I hear that.
Average at
I heard that.
best. So that's what I would have done.
No, I hear you. At that point, he made himself big, so he had to go well
Yeah.
over in order to get him back. Yeah. I hope Timber. Hopefully, we hear about Timber. He's back practicing at some point. I think, like I said, I think we're deep enough that we can even if he's out and Zinchenko's out, I think we're still okay. I don't have any scores. I don't have any scores from Central Broward Regional Park Stadium in Lauderhill, Florida. I'm sorry, I just don't have that. I don't have that access. Really, sorry, just don't have it. Just don't have it.
Timber's so important to what we do too, and he's the one that I knew nothing about coming into this season, and watching him play in the preseason and today, he's absolutely. But I wouldn't say signing of the season, but Declan Rice he's looked really good too. We're in a very fortunate position. If you look at the last 72 hours, that other team lost their golden boy. Liverpool and Caicedo are potentially going to overpay for. I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea are fighting over Moses Caicedo, and we got our business done pretty early, which is something I think that you mentioned that was a goal. Like, get this stuff done early, get the guys in camp, and let's keep it moving.
Yeah, we always talk about that, right?
Yeah.
When is also going to do their business like yesterday, kind of thing? They did it, and it still seemed like they took too long, especially the Rice thing. But they got it done. They had him in. I guess first day, before we took off, he was there. We went to DC. He was there. So yeah.
Saliba, I mean, it was 2 weeks of torture with the Rice transfer. It was 2 weeks of torture looking at Twitter or X and be like, oh, did it sign it? But, I mean, we could be in a worse spot. We could be bringing nobody in. I mean, so
I didn't know Saliba was the one that got the assist to Saka. I thought that came off the right-hand side. I think
it was a long ball that started that one up.
But I thought there was a pass in between that, and then Saka got the ball back and then cut inside and then took the shot. So I thought it went to the fullback. I didn't realize that was Saliba. So I got that wrong. I didn't. So let's see what it says here, because like I said, I thought that let's see what it says. It says Saliba with the assist to Saka. So I guess he never did give up the ball. All right. I thought he passed it off. He must have just cut inside. I don't know why I thought there was a pass in there.
Okay, so I remember, Gary. It was a corner. So both goals came off of corners today, which is another thing that we should give credit to. Set pieces, 2 goals. It was keeping the play alive after a corner, and that was one, if I'm not mistaken. It was headed out. Saliba got it, hit him across field, and then that's when Saka cut in and just beautiful goals. Those were 2 set piece goals, which is really good. Which I think I saw a stat during the game. We had 13 set piece goals, which was tied for the Premier League last year.
Yeah.
So keeping that mojo going.
I'll take it, but that means that there's still that's where we should be able to have gotten some out, some plays from outfield, in terms of some build up play, and that's where those crosses from Saka, we just didn't benefit from him having so much. He had so much freedom on that side. They brought 2-3 players out there. It didn't really matter. We didn't punish them enough, I think, in that sense. But yeah, I'll take the set piece stuff. And for me, a lot of those corners just didn't beat the first man. And you saw it later. You saw it later on, right? We saw it later on when Erdegaard took a corner, and it was a really nice corner that he put in there. I think our corners we didn't put ourselves in any good opportunities there with some of them. Is Rice good at tracking back? He was, right. He came back and made that one. I mean, we saw it from Martinelli, and we saw it from Rice today. Martinelli, kind of gave the ball up, ran back, and got it. Rice, same thing today. So I think tracking back, we are pretty good. Especially Rice does that really well, where he just takes the ball cleanly off the player, and we move on. Declan Rice intercepts the ball and starts the attack. He's so good at doing that. Yeah.
It's that corner. I've got my note says Partey, Saliba, Saka. So Partey was able to get, I guess, the possession, get it to Saliba, and he got it to Saka. So
okay,
but that was great positioning today from Partey and Rice. I thought they were very good today, intercepting the ball, controlling the middle of the park. There's a lot of positives. There's just a lot of positives to look at, and like we said, that we didn't like how it ended, but at least the result ended the way we wanted it to end. We could be sitting here talking about a 2-2 draw.
Very, very true. We've got one that has joined us. Arsenal have a bang average squad, and I don't know about that. I know you're going to have answers for why we're a bang average squad. I don't think we're bang average. We're not that, because that would mean that everybody else, there's half the teams are better than us, and I don't believe that is true. I don't think there are 9 teams better than us, because City's definitely better than us. Maybe you can give Liverpool a little stretch, but as a whole, I think we're pretty good as well. We've got some good quality players. I think the way this game played out, we still have. I think, are we playing for the league? The league right now. We're just trying to figure out how we're going to play. I think we're figuring that all out. Why not saying hello? He's got not Tony, not Mr. Tommy. He's saying hello to you, a new guest. This is Spencer from the DC area.
I'm actually down in the Norfolk, Virginia area.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, you're
Virginia
good.
area.
You're good. Yeah, I'm in that military hub down here.
Okay.
Yeah. As Sam likes to say, I'm a coal miner from Virginia. So, I mean, hey, listen, I'll tell you right now, you go 30 minutes out of where I live right now, yeah, you get to Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah. So
we got Newcastle game is about to start here. So and this is where the broadcasting team for NBC is there. That's where they've been broadcasting from. This should be a good game. Everybody's I think impressed with the way that Emery and Villa has approached the transfer window, brought in a lot of good players. So we'll see how they do. They're on the road. Newcastle is I think a team that surprised everyone. So this should be a good one here. Good early test for Villa and Newcastle.
It is an absolutely good test. I think I had Villa picked to finish 7th in my predictions. Emery, he's with the. I just think Aston Villa is one of those clubs that they've got money, good foundation. They could definitely even push higher than 7th. I mean, they've really Jacob Ramsey, Ollie Watkins, like Emi Martinez. That's I wonder about that other team. What their goalkeeping situation is going to be for them, and that's the thing I worry about Brentford too. If they get rid of Raya, what are they going to do? You've lost your striker and you've lost your goalkeeper.
True. True.
That's a recipe for disaster. Look at Leicester; they went down because of that Schmeichel.
Yeah, when you lose the solidity of your team, it does create problems for you. So, but their problem is our gain, hopefully. And as you said, and as Tim Howard said, maybe he is the answer for us. I wonder if well, it'll be telling because the same way for me that Ramsdale came in, and I think as soon as Ramsdale was ready, he started. I don't believe there was a. It was like as soon as he was ready, he started, and it might have been a cup game, but he started pretty much after that, and Leno's time was done. So if Arteta feels like he's got his starter now, then he has his starter now, and we just got to go with it. I think a lot of people might be happy with Raya because of the distribution and whatnot, and that improves. And his goal stopping is similar to Ramsdale. He's shorter. That's the one thing people will say. He's shorter than Ramsdale, but but if for me, there's two. It's twofold there. He's shorter than Ramsdale, but then he might create more chances for you, or keep control of the game in that back line, so that the counters don't happen as much, and maybe you score more from it, or the other team doesn't score as much just because they never even they get a chance. So,
And I think that's the beauty of the deal, right? The $3 million loan deal with the $27 million buy option. I think it's probably the business of the summer, in my opinion, as far of what about the low risk, high reward, because if you look at what they value Ramsdale at, 68 million, I mean, what would Raya truly go for if he comes over here and shines? So it's going to be interesting to see how that story plays out. There's a lot of storylines out there, and that's one of the ones I'm definitely watching. The Havertz storyline's another one. I want to see him succeed so bad. It's it's one of those ones where I wish we'd be a little bit more patient. I know we've got 3 years of Chelsea of tape of what we've seen, but he hasn't been under Arteta. So I thought he played well in the 8 position today, but when he got up to striker, it was a little bit more left to desire, in my opinion. So
yeah.
But
so this is what I mean. Why not? We'll post something, but then he'll give us a reason why he feels the way he does. Everybody but City's bang average. 25. You know what? 25-man squad. I hear you, but City plays with a 16, 17-man squad, and I think we've got 16 or 17 players that will help us. Especially now, think about it. We've got Raya and Ramsdale, so so you pick one of those goalkeepers coming off your bench. You're solid there. Kirior and Timber, Tomiyasu. You've got Jorginho. You've got Trossard.
Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe. That's 6 or 7 players right there.
Reece Nelson.
And Reece Nelson. I think Reece Nelson might be the back of that list, but the players that I named, I think is 6 or 7 right there.
Yeah.
That's a solid team that you can build around, and they can, you can cover all of your cup matches, and Reece Nelson can come on for a couple matches if you need to. I don't think he's as good a cover for Saka as the other players are at the positions that they would cover for. But I think we have some good answers there. So City only played about 16, 17 players anyway, so 25 sounds like a good idea, but I don't think anybody has that number of players that they actually use on a regular, like in terms of without injuries playing into that. Like if you don't have injuries, you're playing about 15 or 16. If you're City, if you have injuries, then you might have to go into that 18th or 19th player.
And that's the thing. KDB yesterday left early in the game. I haven't heard what the injury was, but that's one of the reasons I picked City to be third this year. People are going to laugh when I say that because I think they're overdue for an injury to a key player that they just haven't gotten.
I hear you.
Very fortunate to be very healthy.
They've got Pep, and they have a strong defense. So I think if it's Rodri, yes, I see significant drop off there, right?
Yeah.
Goalkeeper probably a little bit, but I think Rodri coming out, that would definitely be a player. I think that would hurt them. I don't think Haaland would hurt them if he's out, but I think Rodri would.
I think Alvarez is a good player. Absolutely, they can do it. Foden, Grealish, they'll find their goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my feeling. They've been very healthy, and I'm not saying
Yeah,
they're overdue, but injuries do factor into this. They absolutely do.
true. That's why I'm happy with the depth that we have because we do have some answers. I don't know. Did anyone see him after the warm up? I don't know what happened after the warm up there. Um,
He's talking about Havertz.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't see that one. Thoughts on Crystal Palace for a week from Monday?
It's a Monday game, 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
Crystal Palace. It's always a tough spot to go.
yeah,
Some of the I think through the TV. So I know there's people that watch this show that live in England, have been to games,
no,
they sounds beautiful.
froze.
Listen to their stadium.
You froze on me. I don't know if that was me that froze or if that was you.
I don't know. You still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, you
Okay.
froze on my end. I'm not sure if that was me or not. So, but yeah, I didn't catch that. Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
No, I said Crystal Palace is one of those teams that when you watch it through the TV, you can hear the emotion, you can hear the fans. Like it's a tough spot to go to. Um, I mean, it depends. Like a lot of this stuff depends. They don't have. I'm drawing a blank. They lost him.
They
The little
lost, or is
Zaha.
Zaha. Yeah, so they lost a really attacking threat that kind of he put some pressure on us last season. So they'll probably play a little bit more solid football, so you don't know where
Yeah.
the opportunity is going to come from. So I think you lose a player like that, then you're going to have to just play better football as a whole. So we'll see
Well,
how
we have the
they go
talent
for
to
them.
break them down. That's not a
Yeah,
problem. I don't think that's not a problem.
yeah,
It's like I go back to today. Rice had two opportunities. One hit the post and one he shanked. Maybe
yeah,
next week those two opportunities end up to be two goals.
yeah.
So it's going to be when you go play Crystal Palace. My opinion is you have to take your chances and put them away early. Get the crowd out of the game. Get them down 2 or 3-0 down, and just see the game out. It's going to
True.
be a tough one. Monday Night Football. That's a tough
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that will be a tough one. Yeah, just going through the Twitter right now. It looks like Kepa Kepa is Real Madrid's answer for a little while. So there you go. Struggles at Chelsea, but he's going to be the answer for Real Madrid. We shall see about
Is
that.
that a loan move or a purchase?
It says loan. Verbally agreed. So he said he's on his way. Should be over there. So Kepa was either going to Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. So it looks like we got a goal coming up here for ooh. So it looks like Newcastle's put a lot of pressure on here, but I got the alert. So what else is going on here? Lavia is still around. Looks like Newcastle is off the snide. They got their first goal. It was Tonali scores for them. So he's bringing a player in and he scores for you on his within the first 6 minutes of his career with you. And
So it's a good sign.
there you go.
I
So
have
yeah.
DirecTV. I can't watch it.
Oh, I got what is it? I got Peacock. So that's So yeah.
Gotta
So
love
yeah.
it.
So that's so Newcastle's up 1-0 on Villa. They put a lot of pressure on that back line and got the goal. So nothing yet on Timber from Arsenal or anything like that. They did confirm the Marquinhos loan to Nantes today.
Good.
Son is the captain for that team. Just going through the things here. Nketiah was happy to get his start. So nothing about Timber just yet that I see. What else we got
Well,
here?
I always say no news is good news.
True.
Um,
Apart from
because I don't think I've ever heard a club put out a thing saying, "Hey, they're not hurt." It's usually when they're usually hurt. That's when you hear something bad. You'll hear from a journalist or something. But yeah,
True. I hear you. Why not Spurs? You don't think? I think having Raya and Ramsdale is a good. It means you have depth there. I think Jorginho has shown that he can cover if we need to. I believe Jorginho has shown that he can cover. So I hear you got Trossard. I think Tierney will not be on the bench. That's telling. All right. They view like Timber would be coming off the bench if things went the way they typically have gone. So he is quality off the bench. He showed he can start today. So that he would be coming off the bench, or Zinchenko would pick one. So we've got quality there. Kirior is just going to get more time. I think he just needs time, but he's okay off the bench if you have him next to one of the big towers. All right. So, and if Tierney is around, then Tierney or Ben White can play center back. So I think to some degree we're covered there. All right. Tomiyasu and Ben White on that right side is kind of where we go. So no, I think you're selling us short. I do think we have more than two players on our bench that can come in and do a job for us. Some in a pinch, some long term. Like Trossard has shown he can play long term. I think Timber, hopefully this injury is nothing much and it will be okay there. So we'll see.
So I was having this thought process about Rob Holding this morning.
Yeah, see, I didn't even bring him up for that reason.
I'm just joking.
You were really hate. You really don't like you. You really don't like me. No, just kidding.
No, I'm just joking. I was just joking. I was joking. No, we're kidding.
Go ahead, say what you're gonna
No,
say.
well, no, I had this thought process about Rob Holding, and this was when I saw the lineup this morning, and I was thinking about how the way we play, and how Rob Holding's a guy that you bring in if you're trying to clear up the 80th minute. You got a 5-4-1, and you're just trying to clear it up. If you're asking to play at the 50, you're asking for troubles, and that's where I was kind of like my thought process, like, well, thank God we have the options we have now. We don't have to worry about that. So that's where I was at. I didn't mean to get you all riled up on Rob.
Yeah,
But
no. Like I said, like we went. You go through the bench and there's no place for him.
yeah, not even remotely. I remember you saying about, I think it was with Ray on Thursday, like there is no spot for him.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean
it's
before there was nobody. Like we didn't have the answer. That he trusts
Yeah.
Kirior now, and that's where he went with that. So I mean, our back line was, in terms of the bench, was Tomiyasu. We had Margules on the bench, and we had Kirior. So where's Holding fit into that? He doesn't. He doesn't have a spot. If Kirior is ahead of Holding, then there you go. There you go. So let me see. Yeah, we should be beating Crystal Palace. Yes, Havertz was a ghost. He wasn't losing the ball like Tomiyasu or Ben slowing up play. Yeah, I would like to see a lot more from him. McQuanico has joined us. Welcome to the show. Arsenal kick, 3 points collected on an early kickoff. Get in. Yeah, we'll take the 3 points. I'm happy with the 3 points. So Tonali, of course, has scored early for Newcastle. And I got another alert, so we will be talking about another goal in a second here. Oh boy, I got two streams going. One's ahead of the other one. And Diaby for, I think is Diaby a new player for them as well? So the new transfers coming in are definitely helping out. Diaby just scored for Villa. So nice little build-up play here. It looks like they split lines. Nice little pass out wide. Push the cross in. Get the flex off a defender, and he takes it. And Emmy's just stuck in a spot. Can't move.
And a beautiful team goal at that too.
Yeah.
Beautiful team goal.
Yep. Straight away in the second half, he made a movement, and it felt funny. We will have to assess him. Arteta told reporters. See, for me, straight away in the second half, did they not test Timber before going out there? Straight away. So he came out. First thing he did was try to play some football. Body said no. How in the world did they analyze him going into this second half? You know what I mean? I question that.
So I had an opinion on the goal we gave up to Forest. Do you think that potentially should have been called dead play for two head-to-head contact like that? Because you see Havertz get hit straight in the face from the head. And we always talk about head injuries, but I don't think he sold it enough. But he obviously was fine. But we've seen head-to-head contact stop the game before. That's why I was surprised they didn't blow it dead. It's not an excuse for the goal, but
yeah, I think, like I said, for me, I didn't think too much of that. I didn't think of it that way. I could see it being called against us, but again, to benefit the other team, I think they're going to let it go. But to punish us, I think it would have been gone the other way. I do believe that if Tierney was healthy and in the lineup and in the game late on that, because the thing about it, that came off a corner, right?
Yep.
If I believe Tierney would be the one back there. I don't think that would have happened, and that's why I think Tierney sometimes is good to come into games late, um, when he's healthy, to close out the game and see it out sometimes. So I do believe, we had a couple of ways to solidify the game. I think that might have been one. If he's not even on the bench, that does that mean he's injured or he's on his way out?
I didn't see anything about an injury with
Mm.
Tyranny, but he played very heavily in preseason. He played Sunday at the Community Shield. I can't see, but again, like the argument goes, well, why was Gabrielle left out for White? He made tactical decisions. So maybe this was a game where he was like, we could put this away early. We don't need that much coverage. He
I,
thought kid. It's possible. I mean, this again, I don't, and whether you want to agree with this statement or not, I mean, the chat room I'm talking about. Arteta still doesn't know what he has with these guys. Like he needs to figure it out. But there's so much movement where he's trying to find that he wants to have 2 11s, right? 2-11 to finish the game out and 11 to start a game to go get some points, right? So that's going to be the challenge, and this is why he gets paid the big bucks. You got options now on the bench. Like a couple years ago, man, like let's see 11, we can do about it. But this is what he gets paid for. So I'm hoping Tyranny was just injured. I would love to see him stay. He's one of my favorite players at the club. I love what he stands for. I love the way he acts. I love the way he holds himself. I love the
yep,
way he plays.
yep.
It would be tough to see him go, but
No, I hear you. I I hear you. I know what to say. I don't know what to say about that one. I do hear you. So I'm just trying to look at a
oh, you're good.
spreadsheet I have here. But let's see. But yeah, no, yeah, yeah, no, when it got about 60 minutes, I believe I said to everyone, if you were in there, where is if Gabriel is healthy, bring him on. If Trossard is healthy, bring him on.
Yeah,
Let's try to just close this game out. You start if I you bring in, he brought. I think he was thinking of bringing on Margulis like a 70, close to the 80th minute. They scored 2 minutes into, an 82nd minute there. So I kind of felt like we needed to stop the way this game was going well, like 60 minutes in, and we didn't do that. So I kind of felt like Arteta needed to pull the trigger a lot sooner. Isak just scored here, unless they're going to call it back. No, no. So Newcastle, lots of scoring going on in the first 15 minutes here. I thought this would be a little bit. I thought Newcastle, Newcastle's scoring. That's not good for the league because their defense is, once that
yeah,
gets going, will be solid. But they're scoring right now. It's 2 goals now in a 10-minute period. 3 goals total in the game in 10-minute period. So yeah,
yeah. Newcastle's the one to watch. They're one of those ones that I had them finishing sixth, and my reasoning was now they're back in Europe and trying to. I think they're offside there.
yeah, he's offsides by a lot.
Yeah,
That was Isak. He's offsides by himself. He was a couple inches away.
but that's going to be a place that's going to be tough to go play at here in a few. I mean, it already was last year, but
Yeah,
with them, it's yeah. I mean, if they're scoring goals, given what their defensive record was last year, like you said,
yeah,
it's going to be a problem for the rest of the league for certain.
true, true. Yeah, no, Tierney hasn't been injured, but I think that's because we don't play him as much. I think I think he needs He needs to be part of a rotation, and that's why he has survived without a significant injury. So I think that's worked out. I don't know if he can give you 30 games in a season. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think you think he's on his way to Real Sociedad, huh? If we get the money for him, that's good because they called it onside, so it is. VAR took a look at it and said, nope, he's on. So it's 2-1 Newcastle. Isak with his first goal of the season. Newcastle looks like they're rolling. So yeah, no, I kind of feel like if we sell Balogun, we sell Tierney. I mean, I still feel like one more player should come in. I would like it to be Kudus, but I believe I've heard that number's gone up now. So that's an
I
opportunity
think there's
lost
one
there.
more surprise. I think there's one more surprise. That's just my
You know,
gut feeling. I got no data to back that up. Um, it just feels as if, I mean, they're going all in. I do believe the ownership is going all in, and there's a lot of investment from the Cronkies. And I just think the culture of the club has changed, and I think there's going to be this. He's going to go to the. I think there's what I say. What I mean. When I'm trying to ramble. Arteta can go to the Cronkies, and say, "Hey, this is what I need," and I think they actually listened to what he was saying.
yeah,
I don't think it's one of those. FFP is another concern, but I think if Arteta wants something, I think that he's got ownership buy-in to go get that asset.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, we saw from Chelsea that if you're selling, you can buy. All right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've sold more. I think they've sold more than they bought, which sounds crazy, but the Casado deal hasn't gone through yet. So once that goes through, then they're back in the red again. But you know, they've sold a lot. I mean, we've helped them sell. We've given them the most money, right? So we give them the most money for their players, and so we're helping them. Um, but no, I think if we can sell, like we sold, like I said, Balogun and Tierney. If it, I hope I don't want to be balancing the checkbook today. I feel like maybe we'll do that next season. Let's try to give ourselves a good opportunity to play on all four fronts this season. I saw Fresneda is still out there available. If we wanted to get something defensively, Kudos could cost us more. Yeah,
Well, it's funny. I think
yeah,
I read somewhere. I wasn't read yes. I listened to the game yesterday. I was at the gym, and they said that Man City's back line or defenders in general cost more than what Burnley has purchased in the transfer market over 130 years. When he said that, I was just like, my goodness. So I wonder, like, just we should be thankful we're not one of these clubs selling our assets,
true,
and like,
true.
I mean, there was a
Yeah,
time when we were doing that, but times have changed.
yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. Why not? But we just saw KDB get, not make it out of the first half. So I think it's early part of the season. Players are still coming back into form. Rice has shown over the last 4 or 5 years that he's resilient and can make it through a season. This is the early part of the season when you're coming back. I think that's why you want to do these deals early, because I think it puts a lot of pressure. These players are sometimes not even going in and playing, practicing with their teams because they don't want to get injured and mess up the deal. So, but the fact that he's playing, I think it's fine. I thought unless you think something's wrong with Rice, I don't think so. I think it's being precautious and with your most expensive player. When you have Partey there, I don't think we need to rush Rice in. That's the part. Not in the early part of the season. Rice should get time to acclimate to what we're doing. If Grealish gets the time, then I believe that Rice can get the time as well. You know, you put a lot of money into that. There's no reason to rush this thing for me. No reason to rush it. If he's not ready, he's not ready.
Yeah.
You're not. We didn't buy him for the first month of the season. We bought him for the next 5 years. So let's get the best 5 years out of him. I'll take a little. I'll be precautious in that first year of having him, then rushing him in, and then it's a problem.
I mean, this team is still building for the future as well. I mean, and that comes down to the players that we have in important positions, where they at in there as far as their development.
Mm,
Saka, Martinelli, um, and Ketty is 24, right? So
yeah.
that needs to kick on like now.
Yes.
Um, so it's the Rice thing. It was one of the, when you think about it, it was 100 million well spent based on the fact that he's Premier League proven. How many times do we get people that are connected to some guy from Ajax, for example, or somebody from the La Liga? The league is just too physical for them. They're not ready for it. They're not up to snuff. I mean, look at Vieira. Vieira is a prime example of that. He's probably a great CM in the Portuguese league, right? But when he's in the Premier League, he doesn't have the body type or the physicality for it. He needs to bulk up. So he probably has to switch to the wing, but he doesn't have the speed. So it's one of those deals where would have been more beneficial to go buy someone like Zaha. You know what I mean? So it's like, people that can make it in the league. Um, it's it's a great investment by Arsenal to get Declan Rice too. He's going to be a future club captain. I think Odegaard's got that, but I mean, he's just got the leadership, and he brings us to another level.
Yep.
So
Yep. I think I think Arteta. I believe Arteta knows what he's doing to some degree. I think
yeah,
people want. I think people want to compare him sometimes to Pep and Klopp, and I think that's not fair. 'Cause
yeah,
we're not going to compare certain players to Messi and Ronaldo. It just doesn't, because that's the marker that we're all trying to prescribe to. In his fourth full year of coaching, I'm not going to ask him to be Pep. He might have learned under him, but I'm not going to ask him to be Pep, who's been in this game for a while now. So, and Chris Nixie. It's actually more than two. I think you've
3.
got. I think it's five actually. I thought it's five because I thought like their lacrosse or soccer team, the
Nah,
MLS team had one or something like that. So
it's
the
4.
football definitely is one. The basketball has one. The
Yeah,
hockey is one. That's the three big sports that you got out there. He's got a championship in. But I also believe it's either lacrosse or MLS or something like that where they've also got another win there. So
it's lacrosse, I think.
okay, yeah. So
But I mean, I root for the Avs, so I root for one of their teams, and that was a
yeah,
whole building process. It was, obviously went through the draft, right? And now they've got a team where they're in this window to potentially win another cup. They didn't this year, but so my thing that I always, kind of, I don't want to say chuckle inside, but I was like, I'll get rid of Arteta. Well, that's not how the Cronkies operate. It's a project, and that's what everything is. And you know, people laugh when you say the word project, but that's what the Avs were. That's what the Rams were. That's what the Nuggets were.
hmm hmm
So it's it's the way they decide to handle their business. But I'm just thankful we're not Chelsea some days, because Chelsea just fires a guy for looking at Abramovich wrong, right? Like, it just feel like that was their mo, and I don't think that's the right answer. Because
yeah,
then when you fire a manager, does that player, the next manager you bring in, that player that you purchased might not work for that manager? And I think
yeah,
that's been Chelsea's problem.
yeah. And you know what?
Um,
I've heard many people say that you at some point it can't be, well, I changed the manager, so I have to get rid of half the squad. You should be getting quality players so that you don't have to
right.
revamp the entire lineup because you brought in a new manager. You should have quality players so they can adhere to whatever that new manager wants. And that's, you bring a Rice in. Does it really matter what you're planning to play? It doesn't, right? Saka, Martinelli, doesn't matter what style of play you want to get. They're going to be the answer. Saliba, Gabriel, doesn't matter, right?
So
Doesn't matter.
you bring up a leadership point, Gary, and this is
Yeah,
100% accurate. Good leaders get the best out of what they got, period, no matter what it
yeah,
is.
true, true.
So I don't need I need my guys to make this succeed. No, you need to find what you got here and find a way to make it work.
That's the other part. Yeah, you're right about that. Right about that. You got to play with what you got. I'll play what you got. Mr. Tom is out of football again for another week. Hopefully, we see him. I guess we won't see him on Monday. Maybe we'll see him on Saturday. Hopefully, they play early enough that he can join us next Saturday on the trip. We're almost at 2 hours, which is it's gone really fast. Always goes fast when you have somebody joining you. Thanks for joining me, Spencer.
Yeah,
In
no
about
problem.
5 minutes
Anytime,
or
man.
so, we're gonna get out of here. But we'll say our goodbyes in a little bit. So gonna
Yeah,
need a
anytime,
massive,
Gary.
yeah,
Anytime.
no problem. Mr. Tom's gonna go out to get some takeaway to wash the stink of the day away. Yeah,
So what is Mr. Tom getting? Is he getting his regulars today? What's he having
yeah.
for?
Let's hear what Mr. Tom
Curious.
is getting. Yeah, yeah. No, I get you. Why not injuries? I think injuries early in the season are just part of players getting back into form. I mean, do we all think that KDB is going to be out for a very long time? I think it's just getting back into this whole thing. I think he's had those injuries. I think it's a hamstring for him. So if that's the case, I think that's kind of what his problem was earlier, if I
And,
recall.
and let's
But he's
not
getting
forget how
older.
much.
He's getting old.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but let's
Yeah.
not forget how much football they played last year. These guys, they had the World Cup, the quick turnaround. There was times we had international breaks, Gary, last year, and I'm like, why are we playing these games?
True. Very true.
And it's yeah. So I mean, I just that plays into that. There's a lot of miles put on these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I think Mr. Tom, I think lacrosse has its own league, a professional league over here. So yeah,
You do.
yeah, some of the best athletes back in the days they played lacrosse. So lacrosse is a good game if you're you're athletic. You're running around with a stick, but it's almost like football with a stick. So
Hmm.
American football with a stick. Let's just say that. So Arsenal fans compare Arteta to Klopp. No, I don't. I don't.
I
That's why I
don't.
say. That's
I
why.
don't.
That's why I say. Hold your horses there.
Mm-mm.
I. People will say Arteta needs to do all these things. Look at these other teams, and I'm like, I don't want to look at other teams because I don't have that manager. I have a 4 year manager 4 years into his career. I can't expect him to be like that. Ten Hag has what double the amount of years of experience than Arteta. I think you've seen the difference in the way that Manchester United is playing, and that's because of the experience. He's going to grow it. They want to grow with him. I don't agree with that approach because I think when if it doesn't work out, then you've helped somebody get better for somebody else. So I would like to have already had that experience in for that position. I don't think it's like a player you bring in who's a novice and then you grow them. I think a manager you probably want them to have as they say, bit their teeth on the Division two, level two type things and build their way up. I mean, that's how Pep did it, right? He didn't start out as a number one, manager for the number one for a top team in the league. I think he was. I think he came off the B team at Barcelona, if I recall. So you need to grow a little bit. I think De Zerbi, same thing. He's got a lot more experience than Arteta. I think a lot of these managers have shown that given time they'll be all right. So he's getting special chow mein, no veg, either honey, spare ribs, prawn balls, or both. I say both, man. It sounds like
It does sound good.
yeah,
I mean, so can I weigh in on that Arteta comment because I think this is the interesting thing, and I want to bring up Frank Lampard for example. So Lampard, went to Chelsea, volatile
yeah,
club,
gotcha.
high risk. He was at Derby. They have their own issues, and then he was at Everton. They're a mess. So Arteta is lucked out based on being in a good structured club. I think that's what's helped him out more than anything. And I don't expect him to be like Pep. I expect him to pick up some of the stuff he learned from Pep because when you're with great people, you take a Rolodex of I would do this way or I agreed with this or didn't. And yeah, it's I think it is unfair to expect him to be Pep.
Yeah,
But
nah. All right, why not? I did. I might have said Arsenal, but any fan who says Arteta is at that particular level, I think is ill informed. I don't know who's injured here for Villa, but they just stretched it off a player here.
they got an air cast on
Um,
the leg too. I don't know who it
yeah,
is, but
Pau Torres is coming in, so it's a defender they're bringing on. It looks like. Is
it
that
might
Mings?
it might be.
Yeah, it might be. I haven't seen a substitution here to what's going on, but looks like they're subbing off. Let's see who we have here. See if I can get some information on that. But
Yeah, it's a tough one.
so Crystal Palace is sorry, Villa is down a man. Who came off here? Yeah, Mings is out, so that's a bit of a that doesn't help them. But I mean, they got
Mm-mm.
Torres, so I guess maybe we'll see how that does. So sorry about that. Why not? But like I said, anytime you're going to compare Arteta to anybody with more experience, I think you're getting to get the wrong. Stevie Wonder would be a better football coach than Frank Lampard. Arteta benefited from being given time and being that's the thing, being given time and I think some would say getting that that FA Cup is what kept him in. I think they would have given him time regardless, based on what we've seen so far. I don't think that mattered to them as much. So I kind of feel like they had as people said, Arteta's the project, right? And that is true. Well, from what we've seen, that is true. That's why I feel like he should have went out and got players that don't require that aren't projects. Like Havertz is a project, which I don't think we need to. We don't need to take on that type of a project. We need somebody more established, more informed. So that's me. So we are going to head out of here. Spencer,
Yep.
say as I like to say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people. No,
And
it's been great. I appreciate you having me on.
yeah,
Uh, long time listener, first time guest.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was a long time when you first jumped in the chat. You had a different name then.
Yeah, I
Bronco
did.
VA and area code and all that stuff.
Yeah,
You've
it's
grown. You've grown.
yeah, no, it's fun. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy everybody's different opinion on it, and I enjoy I guess the hangout we get to do, especially on Mondays and Ray's channel and Mr. Arsenal podcast with Ryan and
Yep.
Gooner Gathering as a group I do a lot of stuff with. So yeah,
Very
it's
true.
been fun, man.
Cool. 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 Thank you, Spencer, for joining us. Definitely, we'll do this again. I'll jump on your channel. Maybe we'll talk. We'll talk some American football.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little research. I'll tell you this: every time I try to listen to Billy Napier talk, I get scared. He
Yeah.
scares me. He's not Steve Spurrier. He's not even like he's not even. I mean, he's not what I want out of. Like I want something more out of a football head coach. You know what I mean? And I'm
I
not
like
getting. He's
Billy.
like, yeah, he's. But you know what? I feel like I'm at a funeral when he's speaking.
Is in a tough spot right now. The transition. I'm trying to remember who the coach was before him, but it's a tough transition for Florida right now.
Yeah.
Florida State's on the rise, and I hate saying that. Trust me, believe
Yep.
me, I don't like saying that.
Yeah.
Miami is Miami, but it's the recruiting, right? If Georgia's doing well in recruiting and winning, Florida struggles a little bit. It's one of those yin yang things.
And that's why
And
you have to win that
yeah,
thing. You have to win that. You have to win your state. Players can't be leaving Florida to go to Georgia. It can't happen. You
yeah,
have to control the borders. You know what I mean? It's he should know that. He's coached under Saban. He knows a little bit about that. I mean, if you
and
look at all the players that you look at some of the players that he's brought in from Louisiana, they've all been really good. And you're like, all right, so he knows he's a good scout. Now he's got the Florida name tag when he walks in there, so he can get better players. So I kind of feel like he's got a good background in his coaching thing. And it was Dan Mullen, I think, that was in before.
yeah, Stan Mullen. Because I keep thinking
So
of
yeah,
the guy that was in South Carolina,
yeah.
Muschamp.
Muschamp
Yeah,
was
yeah,
much was before that or
but
after. Yeah, we've had some
Mullen. Yeah,
it just hasn't worked out. No, I think he's got a plan. I just like I said, I kind of I need I've won championships with Spurrier, Urban Meyer. They felt a little bit different when they're talking to the media. Even if you said, okay, he's the disciple of Saban, I think Saban's even more, more of a like an upbeat than him sometimes.
so I'll tell you this. I have a buddy of mine, Ricky Barton, his name. He played for North Carolina back in the late '70s with Lawrence Taylor
Yeah.
and stuff. And he knows a lot of people that are assistant coaches in college football right now. And they say the hard thing is if you talk to a kid sideways, they hop right into the portal. So it's the man management of college football. Not only do you have to like win, but you also have to go out there and manage the people, like even more in college game. Billy Napier, he was the offensive coordinator for Clemson for a little bit too, back in the
Mm,
mid 2000s with I think Tommy Bowden. Actually, no, Dabo had him. He was one of his
okay.
first OCs. It
Oh,
didn't go well. He got
okay.
fired, but
Okay.
it was right before they brought in Chad Morris, and I think the year before Kevin Steele got fired. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but the problem also that Florida has is Tennessee's really good, Georgia's really good, South Carolina's getting good. It's a hard
I
place right now.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think this is where we've and this is on the AD. They've held on to managers, coaches a little bit too long,
Yeah.
and they've been punished for it because basically the recruiting has gone just as well as the coaching has gone. So Tennessee might have had a dip, but then you see they bring in a different manager, everything starts to build. I mean, Tennessee,
Yeah.
you didn't see the big drop and stuff like that. As much as I think Arsenal, as much as the Gators have dropped, it's been hard to watch them sometimes. So for me, So they have
But
some
yeah,
good quality, like, and it's always the next year. And I'm like, you need, like you just said earlier, you need to take whatever you've got in the cupboard and make it work. You got
yep,
to look in the cupboard of, whatever cupboard. People say the cupboard's bare for the Gators, but think about how many players have been drafted from that cupboard.
yeah,
We get players drafted all the time. Our quarterback got drafted third. I would say probably one of the worst quarterbacks we've had in a while, like that. You know, he wasn't that
yeah.
good, but if the NFL can see something in a player, that means you missed something.
It's very true. Everything I've heard from the Colts with Richardson is they love his personality, his style,
Yeah,
the way he demeaned
yeah.
himself. I mean, you got a big quarterback with Jonathan Taylor as your running back. Like you should be able to do something. I just you don't have to win the Super Bowl, but I like Anthony Richardson.
Our
I'm a big
running game
fan.
was so strong last season. They put a lot of pressure on Richardson when they didn't have to. So now you got
Mhm.
me into this football mode. Sorry,
I'm
people.
sorry.
You're gonna have to hear me here. But like we had three strong running backs last season, or the last couple of seasons we've had
Mhm.
strong running backs. Some of them are in the NFL right now, and we never leaned on them enough. We leaned on our quarterbacks who still were trying to figure this thing out, and we struggled. And anytime we went back to the running game, everything seemed to calm down and get better. So I think that's on the coaching when you look at that, because even now we've got two solid running backs, both 1A, 1B, and we're going to have a new quarterback going in. There's no reason for us to have to lean on the quarterback just yet. I mean, we've seen teams be able to, in college, manage. If your running game is that well, that will bring in the safeties. Bang, you hit them.
Yep.
I think it's simple sometimes. I believe it's that simple, but you have to present yourself in a certain way so teams think they're gonna run in this play, and then you catch them.
Well, college drives me nuts because if you take a look at like Clemson last year with DJ,
Yeah.
the way DJ struggled, I'd have been running that ball under center, at least to get the ball under center so I disguise the safety so they don't know what we're doing. But everything now is that read option stuff. Got the three options: keep it, pass it, throw it. So now the safeties don't have to guess. The linebackers don't have to guess. They're already there. And then plus in college, you can go up 3 yards with the offensive linemen that you can't do in the pros. So I mean, with us, I mean, it's going to be an interesting season. I mean, we're 14 days away from games.
True.
Notre Dame and Navy are the first game of the season at 2:30 Eastern. So I'm excited for college football. I don't really like what's going on with the conference realignment. I'm not a big fan of that. It hurts me.
Maybe we'll have to save that for a show.
I know.
I do want
We
to let
will.
these people go, and I do want
I'm
to.
sorry, dude.
I will talk to you when we get offline, because there's probably more to talk about. But everybody, Thank you for joining us. We'll be back back on Monday. We'll be talking about the game. I believe Matt will join us, so we'll have another viewpoint of how the game went. Because we're on different sides of this fence, but I like that part of how our show works. So we'll see if we're back to normal there. But we'll be back, and as I like to say, life is a journey. Don't waste a trip. Enjoy the ride, people.
Life is a journey. Don't waste the trip. Enjoy the ride.